Hey guys, how's it going? It's Richie Plungy here from the Puppet Geek, and today guys, we're revisiting the Yeti by Blue microphones. Way back, I reviewed my first ever Yeti microphone by Blue, and that was my first condenser microphone or USB condenser microphone that I ever purchased myself as well. And I was quite happy with it. Like, you know, the sound quality was amazing. It was sort of the successor of the Blue Snowball as well, which, you know, if you're old enough to remember, back then, especially on YouTube, everyone had that. And then when Yeti came out with, or when Blue came out with the Yeti, everyone jumped on board for this because one, it was affordable. I mean, back then it was still pretty up there, but still one of the most affordable USB microphones out on the market. It had a ton of different settings that you can use, especially which made it really versatile, not just for using it as a, you know, normal microphone, but also for podcasting and small little things just to getting started. These days, there's heaps of different manufacturers that produce different types of microphones for different scenarios, whereas, you know, the Yeti has really stayed true to this. And is that a pro or con? It's, you know, not too sure. They've done some slight, subtle changes to it. The sound quality is still very much the same. But, you know, the Yeti has had a lot of slack thrown at it as well. And one of the most common things is, you know, people weren't too sure how to actually use the microphone. It's a very silly thing to say. Like, you know, if you're very used to using microphones, or, you know anything about microphones, you will know, you know, you speak directly into as close as you can, you're going to get the best audio quality out of it. But a lot of people who were purchasing the Yeti was going to be their first ever USB microphone, and they weren't too sure because, I mean, ever since then, you know, the box for this sort of addressed that, and Yeti came, or Blue came out with, you know, a sole dedicated video on how to use it. And the common issue was that people were speaking directly into it, just like this, or like this. You'd see, either, I'm sure if you look at really old videos on YouTube of people using the Yeti for the first time, they'll be speaking it in this. And what was the comments going to be? It sounds really bad, you know, it sounds really muffled, you can't hear it nice and clear. And they try turning up the gain, then you're going to start hearing all these background noises. And that's because they were using it incorrectly. The correct way to use it is at this angle, nice and close, just like this. And, you know, it's a very simple thing to do, and a lot of people tend to forget this. But, you know, especially with microphones, you want to try to get it as close as possible, not, you know, have the gain too high, because then you're going to get all these background noises, and also, most importantly, have it pointed in the right direction. Now, even before the Yeti and the Snowball, Blue has been producing great microphones for musicians and artists. And, you know, they've dived into this USB market of, you know, USB condenser microphones for the first time, and people loved it. And ever since then, where manufacturers really jumped on board of that as well, you got you know, different varieties, different price points, and, you know, it still was the most popular microphone, but you also had other microphones which were more compact. And Blue sort of, you know, tried to do that as well with some of their more compact USB microphones, but with, you know, slightly less features. And really, the Yeti right here has stayed very much the same. Now, I've got two Yetis right here, being this one being a couple of years older than this current model right now. And I'm not too sure if you can notice any difference straight away by looking at it, but I'll put it straight up here. These are actually two different models, believe it or not. Now, saying that, I haven't looked into any, you know, MIDI alerts or features or any, you know, model numbers on the back of here or anything like that. But the first thing that I noticed when taking a look at it, I'm like, this feels a bit smaller. Ever so slightly. And it's sort of a good thing. I guess they sort of compacted, you know, the electronics in there, made the capsule slightly a bit smaller. Like you can see, it's just ever so higher on the older model. But the most important, like, there's a couple of other things as well, like the logo is slightly thinner on here rather than on the older model where it's a bit fatter. That's about it, really. But the one thing that I found with the older model was, with the Blue Yeti, it picked up a lot of vibrations, especially on your desk. Like if you had it on the desk and you had, you know, just say your computer on your desk as well, or anything that sort of, you know, transmitted any vibrations through your desk where the microphone was held, it would, you know, come up in the microphone recording. And, you know, sometimes you could get away with it, but sometimes you could actually hear this slight little hum in the background, and that being your computer. And that's one of the hardest things to get by, especially with any microphone. And especially with a desktop microphone like this, it was really hard to do because the padding on the older model was quite thin. And even though it did sort of absorb some of those vibrations, it didn't do a really great job. And one of the ways to combat that was if you had a bit of foam padding or anything like that, you just chucked it under there and gone, done. Now, with the newer model, I realized it's actually slightly a bit thicker, which is a great thing, I guess. I mean, it's going to stop some of those vibrations on your desk as well, make sure that recording is nice and clean. Now, a couple of other things that, a lot of people did was, if it was a big trouble or you didn't really want to have it on your desktop and you wanted to bring it closer to you, you could mount it on, a microphone mount and then away you go, because the actual Blue microphone has a little mount here where you can screw it to any sort of microphone stand or arm, which is really great. Now speaking of boom arms, one thing that Blue came out with as well was this radius shock mount, which is really great to mounting your Blue Yeti on, being the regular USB Blue Yeti or the actual Pro version, which had the XLR mount to it. And this was really great in, again, combating that vibrations or any noises that were, coming through the boom arm when, during movements, and again, getting that best audio quality. Now, right now, we're going to go through the different patterns on the microphone and you can get a better understanding on how it actually works and sounds. Now, you wouldn't believe it, but this is take 2 of this. Now, I say that because I'm re-recording the audio sample that you're hearing right now, which is coming directly from the Blue Yeti. Now, what I did wrong was when I was listening back on it, I was like, this doesn't sound right. And because I had it on the wrong pattern, and this goes way back to also the lot of grief that people had with the Blue Yeti was, and a lot of people commenting on it say, oh, that doesn't sound great, it sounds a bit weird, is because, sometimes small things like that can make your sound a lot different. So sometimes if you're doing something live and you had it on the wrong settings, it can make your audio sound completely different. And that's because the Blue Yeti does have a number of different patterns they can utilize. Now you've got stereo that, obviously works in a stereo fashion audio. And then you've got cardioid. Now cardioid would probably be your main pattern that you would probably use, I would say 90% of the time. At least that's what I did with my Blue Yeti. I rarely used the other patterns. It was great that it was there. And I still recommend, it's really a versatile product because it does have those number of different patterns that you can use. I've used it at LANs a number of times, having it on that omnidirectional, which picks up 360, so all around it. So I was able to sort of plonk it straight in the middle of the table and then pick up the surrounding, voice chatter and everything of everyone in the LAN, which was really great. And then you've got sort of bi-directional as well, which you have the front and back microphone. And that's what actually had the setting on. Even though there was no one behind us, the microphone was still active, so it was picking up any sort of subtle noises, behind or in front of me. So it did sound ever so slightly different. I could pick it up. Now, some people, they might not even notice that, but it makes a hell of a lot difference, and it's something to really consider. Now, you've been listening to my voice through the Blue Yeti, so let me know what you guys think of it. One of the things that I really love about the Blue Yeti and what I reckon was the turning stone of this, having this feature. I mean, having the patterns was such a a big deal back then as well, because you were having this ability, not just to have one microphone to do a particular thing, but you had this microphone that was able to utilize itself in different scenarios, which is really great for a lot of people. But having the ability to adjust gain on the fly, which is really great. So you have your gain control right here. So if I sounded a bit soft or a bit too loud, I could adjust it right here, on the fly, and that would sort of boost up my volume or lower it a bit. Saying that though, it's something you want to use subtly, because if you go crazy with it, you're going to pick up a lot more surrounding noise around you, but also, you don't want to be clipping your sound as well, and that's something really important. So if you're like a streamer, for example, and you're really loud sometimes, you want to maybe tone it back a little bit, just in case if you do get loud, your audio's still not going to go clipping, and that's something you notice with a lot of streamers. Sometimes you hear that audio crackle and skip sometimes. It's not a big deal. A lot of people don't really care these days, but if you want your audio to be nice and crisp, tone it back a little bit, just in case when you do go loud, you can actually have your full audio there without it being clipped. So this has been the Blue Yeti microphone. Let me know what you guys think of the audio quality. Also, if you want to hear the different patterns that this actual microphone sort of, emits, I highly recommend checking out there's heaps of other videos out there on YouTube which actually showcase the different patterns that this microphone is capable of. I don't have, a number of people around me that is able to sort of hear everything, but I do have a TV on in the background, so I'm not too sure if you can actually pick that up. Maybe ever so slightly if you sort of bumped up the volume. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'd be more than happy to answer them. I've had the Blue microphone for a very long time, and I think personally it's a great microphone to start off with. Is it going to be the best microphone that you're ever going to purchase? Maybe not. There are better microphones out there. Work within your budget. Yet if you can spend $1,000 on a microphone, go ahead. But if you're just starting out, don't look at investing the most expensive equipment, because that's not going to make your content any better. Spending something like this is something going to be versatile. It's going to take a beating as well. It's built really well. And it's also versatile in mounting different options also. So I'll leave it up to you guys. I'll put some links down below. We can check out some more information on the product, as well as links to where you can purchase one for yourself. Anyway guys, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to give me a like if you enjoyed this video and a dislike if you didn't. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.